So, what's up, lovely people, beautiful spirits, light rays? I want to talk about why the spiritual journey is problematic. You know, why the shit can become real problematic really quickly. And I've noticed three ways in which it can become problematic. Now, I know there are many ways in which the spiritual journey can be problematic. But I'm looking at my own journey, and I've noticed three ways in which my own journey has become problematic. You know? So let's hop into it. One. Oh, and before we hop into that, the reason why I'm sharing is because I have found that oftentimes our journeys are parallel. And what one of us is going through, another may be going through. So I share this wisdom with you in case you're going through it, you know? And I'll share some techniques I've learned to make it less problematic. And likewise, if you have found ways in which the spiritual journey can become problematic, please share your wisdom with me. Okay, so let's hop into it. One, believing that you are right. Right? Believing that you're right. So what often happens when you're on this spiritual journey is you'll start developing a new model of reality. You'll start to see reality in a completely new way. And you'll start to have ideas about the way that reality actually operates. Right? And you'll see, sorry about that, and you'll see proof in reality, right? Because you started incorporating these new processes in your life has turned out really good. Maybe you're experiencing a lot of joy. Maybe you're getting some of the things you want. Oh, I must have found it. I found the way that life actually is. I'm correct, right? And then someone challenges you. Someone challenges your ideas about reality. You get a little flustered. This has happened to me before. I've had beautiful friends in my life who, when I'm speaking some spiritual stuff, they'll say, Anthony, that's bullshit. And they'll start challenging me. And there was a point in my life where I would get flustered, you know? I would get a little upset, maybe even angry. How dare they challenge this holy, sacred knowledge that I have acquired? It's funny. Maybe you've had the thought. Maybe you've experienced it. Now, this trap of believing that you are right is something that the vast majority of human beings are in, right? Ask the average person, do they have a true grasp of the way the world operates? They'll tell you, yeah, right? Now, this becomes very dangerous in the spiritual path because you're really investigating deep. You're investigating a little deeper. I wanted to say deep truths about life, but even saying that is a little problematic for ways in which maybe you already know or will discover soon. So, there was something that really broke me out of this way of thinking. It's an idea that I've chosen to hold sacred. Notice the words I use. An idea that I have chosen to hold sacred. You choose the ideas you hold sacred. This idea is that wisdom is infinite. I'll say that one more time. Wisdom is infinite. And that's really what I concern my life with. I have decided to dedicate my life to discovering wisdom, to discovering reality. And what I have realized is that the discovery of reality is an infinite process. It is an infinite process. I'll never be done. No matter how much wisdom I acquire, it effectively is equal to about 0% of the total possible wisdom that I could ever acquire. It's infinite, baby. And I find that beautiful now. And by the way, by wisdom, I mean what you know, the insights that you're gathering from life. your knowingness. That's what I mean by wisdom. And I think it's important to say that the insights that you have about reality, your experience of reality is valid. In fact, it's more than valid. Your experience of reality quite literally is holy and precious. And the reason why is because it is known. It is known. There's so much of reality that's still shrouded in mystery. You know? But something is known. And that's the wisdom that you hold. That's the wisdom that I hold. And what I've realized is that statement is true for everyone. Right? And once you understand this nature of wisdom, it puts the wisdom that you have into perspective. It puts the wisdom that I have into perspective. You become humble in the face of the infiniteness of the universe. Surrender. Something beautiful about surrendering to that infiniteness, to give yourself to this constant discovery. But in order to do that, you must realize that you know nothing. You know nothing. And through that acknowledgement, you open yourself up to know everything. A person who thinks that they know, it's hard for them to open themselves up to other knowledge, because they're like, no, this is the right way. This is how it should be. I highly encourage you to acknowledge that you know nothing. That all that you know is a result of conditioning, of biology, of the words that you've heard. But really, this universe is a mystery. Reality is a mystery. So don't believe that you're right, you know? In fact, what I have found useful is to take in my experience, to take in all of my insights, to take in all of my wisdom, and I am very wise. To take in all of that with a grain of salt, you know? To play with it. To understand how unreal it is. To understand how you're wrong. Play with life. Don't believe you're right. So that's one, believing you're right. Big with spiritual people. Spiritual people always believe they got it figured out. You know, and they limit themselves to that belief. 2, trying to convert people. Right? Now, we all know what conversion is. It's, I want you to believe as I believe. So I will try to give you ideas. I will try to force you through coercion, through seduction, through manipulation, to believe as I believe. The impulse of that, I have found, is a sign of weakness. It is a lack of self-trust. It is a lack of giving authority to what you know, to your own experience, and needing other people to validate it. Oh, please know what I know, so I know what I know is true. And honestly, there are many endeavors in human life where that is appropriate. Scientific inquiry, peer review is so important. If you're making art, you know, not always, but if you're making art for other people, it's nice to feel that external validation. But we're talking about the spiritual journey here. Right? And for that, you need not convert anyone. Because spirituality, one of my favorite teachers said it, is simply understanding this play of consciousness. Understanding this play of consciousness. You don't need anyone to do that. In fact, you can't have anyone help you with that, because all the ways in which you know other people are through your own consciousness. So start with the root, right? You don't need to convert people. Also, people may think that what I'm doing now, like making this video, is trying to convert people. Nah. There's a difference between converting people and living your truth. What I'm doing right now is living my truth. In fact, I have been in this state of mind for, I don't exactly know how long, but I've been in this state of mind for a while. And it almost felt like when I would talk to people, I was like code switching, right? I would pretend that I wasn't intimately connected with Stardust, that I wasn't one with God, that I wasn't one with the divine. I'm done. What's happening now is I'm done caring about what people think. I don't give a fuck about Facebook likes. This knowledge is exciting to me, and I feel like sharing it simply because it makes me happy. Only reason, because it makes me happy. It gives me a little fun tickly feeling in my stomach, and if it helps people, that's wonderful. That's beautiful. And if no one gives a fuck, that's also fine too, because I've lived my truth. You see? It's very important that you are living your truth always. Always. Although, I still have to check myself sometimes, because this wanting to convert people, it can exist on many levels. It occurs more subtly. So for example, just to give you an example of what I mean, sometimes I'll be on Facebook and I'll see people complaining about other people who aren't protesting the way that they want them to protest. So to give you a very specific example, we heard about this Starbucks incident where the two black guys were just sitting down chilling like so many people do all the time in Starbucks. Sorry about that. Like so many people do all the time in Starbucks, and they got the police call on them. Now, I think as kind of retribution, they received $1 from Starbucks and an agreement that Starbucks would set up a $200,000 entrepreneurial program. And I had people on my Facebook timeline who were angry at that, who were mad, who were like, man, these dudes are stupid. Yeah. I see it all the time. When someone isn't, even if they're on the same side as you, if they're not expressing themselves in the same way that you want to express yourself, I see people getting mad at that. Like, what, this person needs to protest how I would protest. This person needs to get us the settlement that I would want. And that shit makes no sense to me. Like, why disturb your soul because someone isn't behaving as you behave? But you see, it's super subtle, because it hit me one day that, Anthony, you are guilty of what you are judging other people for. Think about it. I'm looking at other people and I'm like, why are you getting angry because people aren't protesting how you protest? And I'm feeling some type of way about that person. But that person has the freedom to get angry. Other people have the freedom to live their life how they want to live it. As long as it's to more or less extent not like hurting anyone, they have the right to get angry because someone else isn't protesting the way they want to protest. And I'm trying to put my view on them. You see? Do you see how the spiritual journey is only about you? Oftentimes when you're in the spiritual journey, you'll perform sermons in your head, and maybe you'll be thinking that you're giving these sermons to other people. I have found that those sermons are almost always for yourself, right? The lessons that appear in your head, you adopt them. No need for other people to live as you live. No need for other people to live your truth. Although I feel like deep down, the truth that not the truth, but the freedom, the true freedom that a lot of us want is the freedom to make other people think as we think, right? Have you noticed this in yourself? I've noticed this in me. There seems to be this natural impulse to want other people to believe and see the world as I believe and see the world. And it's not necessary. Not only is it not necessary, it's impossible. In fact, maybe it's harmful. You need to let people live as they live. And you can't do that if you're trying to convert people. And if you're trying to convert people, you're probably not living up to the things that you're trying to convert them towards, right? So this is one way in which I have found the spiritual journey to be problematic, is this impulse of trying to convert people, which again is trying to get them to live life as you live life. Because what I found is so holy, what I found is so precious. Please eat of it, taste of it. Oh, I don't want any of that. I'm living my life fine. And then it gets you all sad. It's a trap. Don't do it. Don't fall victim to that. Unless you want to. Just do so consciously. 3. Ways in which the spiritual journey can become problematic. There's this idea that you find in many, many spiritual circles, and the idea is something like this. You and I are the same. There's no difference between us. You've heard that before, I bet. That's a very problematic idea. Maybe you even think this. This is a very problematic idea. And let me explain why it's problematic. This beautiful mind, this beautiful machine of nature, is capable of contemplating different levels of consciousness. Now, there is a level of consciousness, there is a level of knowing in which there is only one, in which there is sameness. And then there's also a level of consciousness, a level of experience, in which there's difference, in which there's duality, in which I am me and you are you, right? And I almost like to ignore that level of consciousness, which a lot of spiritual people tend to do sometimes. It's to kind of like deny reality, right? It's like it's so clear that there is the experience of body-mind consciousness, and it seems to be distinct from that body-mind consciousness. But also, if you had the experience, it becomes very clear that there is only one. Now, the issue with saying you and I are the same is that is, in my view, artificially merging two almost incompatible levels of consciousness, right? In the experience of sameness, there is no such notion as you and I. If I say you and I are the same, well, if we're the same, there is no you and I to be the same, because it's all one. Do you see what I'm saying? For example, I can contemplate my body as a single unit, or I can contemplate my body as made of many cells, of disparate parts. Both are true, but at the same time, it's almost like a trick of the ego, like the ego trying to own this sameness for itself. I am the same as everyone else. The ego is the same, right? You're transforming the world into your own image. And this also becomes very problematic when it becomes harmful, right? Because at the level of body-mind consciousness, there's a lot of inequality, There's a lot of pain and suffering that's based on the differences of body-mind consciousness, So if you start merging those two levels, what you risk is blinding yourself to those important differences. Now, are those differences important at the level, at the state of consciousness where there is only one? The fact is no, they're not. But as long as you hold on to the idea that you are distinct from me, you need to be honest with yourself. It's all about self-honesty. And that's why this is why it makes no sense to judge. This is why honesty, self-honesty is the most important thing, because only you know if you're operating from a true place, or if you're taking you know, if you're having your cake and eating it too. Although I've never really understood that term, because when I have cake, I want to eat it, you know? But you can't take all of the insights of spiritual consciousness and then apply it to a level in which it doesn't exist, which would be like existing at the level of body-mind, but trying to hold on to this like all as one. You know, it's very dishonest, and you know it's dishonest. Okay? And again, I think the key to circumventing all of these problematic traps is self-honesty. Self-honesty, earnestness. This is only about you. Don't look at me in my experience. Don't look at Anthony and say, oh, Anthony's making videos, his ego must be into it. Maybe my ego is in it. Maybe my ego isn't. What the fuck does that have to do with you? This is your journey. Don't bring in other people. You be honest with yourself. Right? I found that self-honesty is the best way to remove yourself from these problematic traps. Now, I know that the spiritual journey can be problematic in many, many other ways. And I know some of you all are probably looking at me like, this motherfucker is problematic, you know? So if you think I'm exhibiting any of the problematic aspects of spirituality, do me a solid and let me know. It can be publicly, it can be through a DM. Either one is fine. If you, maybe don't see it in me, but if you just think that there are other problematic risks with the spiritual journey that I didn't talk about, I only talked about 3, so I'm sure there are more, please let me know, you know. For my personal journey, self-criticism and self-critique is so important. So I never come to you on a pedestal. I never come to you claiming to have knowledge that you don't already have. Knowledge that you don't know innately. You know? So please share with me, share your wisdom with me, as I have shared my wisdom with you. And I wish you best luck on your journey.